Hello there. What are you doing here? Oh, that's right. We're building a website. Yeah, let's keep going with that. Now, in this lesson, what we're going to do is build the inside template. It's a fairly simple one just to get us back into things and get things moving. Mainly just some layout and looking at that initial template. So there's nothing crazy going on here. We're just going to build the actual layout for the template, and then we're going to get stuck into some of the juicy stuff. All right, let's get stuck into it. So here we are in our XD design file. And what we're going to quickly do is look at what we're actually going to be building and what things we may be leaving for another module. So we know we need to add our menu. We've just set our pages up for that so we can create our menu. We'll be adding our header, setting up this text here. Now all of this content here that is in the middle, for now, we're going to leave this as default Gutenberg content. We're going to save some of these bits here until we create our module or work on our module for the custom Gutenberg blocks. We're going to look at some of those things in detail. So we're just going to leave this as standard Gutenberg text for now. We've got the footer that we still need to build out, and this part here, which is a custom call to action. And we're actually going to do something a bit cool with this, which is put that in the footer, and we're going to use some oxygen conditions here to display this depending on the situation we're in. All right, so let's actually get stuck into our templates. Now I've opened up WordPress here, and we can see our oxygen templates here. We've got our inside standard template, which is the one we're going to be editing. So what I want to do here is actually just click edit rather than jump straight into oxygen. If you wanted to jump straight into oxygen, you can click this edit with oxygen and it will bypass this step here where we're going to look at the template file. So you can see here that the way this is set up, just a quick reminder, is we do have this page set up as a catch-all, and we're going to be looking at templates in a little bit more detail with this. But the way that it works is this is a catch-all, so every single page is going to try and use this template. It's essentially our default template for every page, unless we define this properly, and then we can change the priority of that template as well. So you can say that this is a 0, so it has the lowest priority. Then if we created a 404, we'd give that a priority of 1, and it would replace this catch-all. So once we start setting up this template, we'll start to see this would work for all of our pages. So anyway, let's jump into Oxygen and get stuck into it. And now we have Oxygen loaded. And what we're going to do here is the same as what we did in the last module when we set up the home page, where we just create the actual structure for everything. So if we have a quick look at our home page, at our design in XD, I'll zoom out a little bit. You can actually see this is really only going to be 4 sections. So we've got our header builder for our navigation. We've got our hero image section. All of this for our content, we can classify this as 1. And then these 2 here, we're going to classify these as the footer. So it really is 1, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So let's go set these up quickly. So go back to Oxygen. And the first thing we want to do is click Add and put in our reusable part, our navigation. Now we want to make sure this is a single, not editable, so it's still connected to our template. Again, we'll go Add, put in Basic, and we'll put in a section. Now we know that we want this to have a background color for now. We'll click Add another section for our content, and then we'll go to Add and put a reusable part in, which is our footer. So again, we want this to be single and not editable. So I've got these few basic things set up here, which is really our structure. So let's have a quick look. We'll open up our structures panel and we'll do a little bit of styling. So I'm just going to name this while I'm here. So rename this to Hero, and then rename this to Content. And the names don't really matter. You can name, these don't actually affect anything on the front end. I've just done this for a little bit of organization. You could call this one footer, do whatever you want. Now let's just quickly tweak this header here. So I'm going to select this hero section here, and then I'm going to go to advanced. I'm going to put a background image in here. So we'll go to background image, browse. I have already uploaded this. You can upload your own image. I'm using header 1. So I'll select that. I'm going to make sure it's set to cover and do the standard stuff of making this left 50% and top 50%. Now I'm going to want to go to the size and spacing and give this a height. So I'm going to make this say 440 pixels. And I'm going to do a couple of things here. I'm going to remove this padding off of the bottom, and I'll show you why in a second. So I've got that set up. Now I can go back to primary, and I'm going to stick in here, add basic, and I'm going to put in a heading. Now this is because I want to grab the heading for the section. So you can see here, I've just added in a basic heading, and I want to change the layout, not of the heading itself, but of the container. So the hero section that it's in. So I'll go back to that. I'll change this to horizontal on our flex. I'll move the text to the bottom so you can see it's gone all the way down to the bottom, and just make sure that it's aligned to the left. So we've got a horizontal flex box where the vertical alignment is to the bottom and the horizontal alignment is to the left. Now we want to change this to a real heading. So the first thing we want to do here is select all of this, and we can put dynamic data in here by going to insert data. So click insert, and these are all of our dynamic data options. Now later on when we're using advanced custom fields, they will show up here. But for the moment, all we really want here is our post title. So it's the same as a page title. So really post title is what we need. So click title. We don't want a link on there. It's not going to link to anything. So all we need to do is click insert. And you'll see that once that refreshes, it's grabbing the actual real title here. So you can see it says contact, and you might be saying, why does it say contact? And I have briefly explained this, but this part here along the top, it gives you an example of what you're actually previewing. So if I go to say our about page, this is changing to about. Now it's really hard to see, so let's actually style this text. So select the text, make sure that this heading is selected. We'll change our color to white. We're going to go into advanced. Under typography, let's make sure the line height is 1. And then we can do a few things like going to the background, giving it a background color of this mid brand color. And we'll give it some padding on size and spacing. We'll give it say 20 pixels top and bottom. And I think we want a little bit wider on the left and right. So I'm going to go 30 pixels on each. Now there's a few different ways you could do this. You could have this to a sort of set width, but I want this to be sort of fluid with the amount of text that's being displayed. So if I go to something like website packages, it's going to be a little bit longer. Now there was one other thing. This did have a green border on the left hand side. So we don't want to put a border on all. We need to make sure we select left. So grab that left there, put in our green. We want that to be our border. So it's 10 pixels wide. And we need to make sure that we've got solid selected. And there we go. We've got our border put on there. The last thing we really need to do to this is just change that. I think that it's offset a little bit. Let's have a look at the design. Yes, it's offset that little bit where it's dropped down. So let's go back to Oxygen and do that part. So we'll go to our size and spacing and put a negative margin on of around say 30 pixels. And that actually looks perfect. That's lined up there with that line for where the header actually cuts off. So that's really, really good. So that is our hero roughly done. So I'm going to click save here. Now the next thing I'm going to do is go down into this content block, and in here we want to have our content displayed. So I'm going to click add, and I'm going to put in the inner content. So I'm going to type this in here, inner content, and it hasn't put it in our section. So I'm going to drag that in now. I'm just going to grab that by the handle and put it into the content. And now you can see it's displaying here. And this again, if we select our previewing here, if I go to say about, I know that about, I put the image in there specifically so we could see that displaying differently. So that's why I wanted to show you that. That's why I wanted to have one page set up different so we could actually quickly see, you know, that this content, this dynamic content for about and the inner content was changing. And that is our basics set up for this template. We're going to go in next and look at the menu, and then we're going to finish off with the footer, and then we're going to start looking at a few other cool parts around the templates. So let's click save, and I'm going to go back to here and we'll have a quick look at what this is doing on the front end. So if we go back to our dashboard and go to pages, we can actually just check this in the browser. So if we go view, open a new tab, you can see that that's working perfectly. And all of these pages now will be grabbing this template. So it doesn't really matter what the page is. If we go to view, our blog is grabbing that template, except for our home page. So if we go view on our home page, that is still grabbing our home page template. So I'm going to close these down and wrap this one up. Look at that. The inside page template is pretty much built. That's amazing. Now let's keep things moving. We're going to get stuck into the navigation and footer. So you know what to do. Click complete, and I'll see you in the next lesson.